do the roll call. We have Executive Director Cher here. We've got Board Member Adam, Vice Chair Nancy Thomas, Board Member Chrissy Amato, Board Member Gregory Nato, our Counselor Catherine Kemp. Thank you. And so,
Michelle's with them as well.
sorry?
Michelle is with Katie and Bob as well.
Oh, I apologize. Okay. Hi, Michelle.
Hi, awesome. Thank you.
Welcome.
Thank you.
All right. And this is me stalling while I bring up the actual agenda. Okay. Like every meeting I've been at for the past 7 years, proof of notice of meeting has been duly done. I have it in front of me. We'll do the reading and approval of the prior couple meeting minutes. So we'll start with February 8th. Do I have a motion to approve the February 8th minutes?
I move that we approve them.
All right, and I'll interpret Adam's attempt at second.
I'll second. Yeah.
All right, all in favor,
As
say
written.
aye. Aye.
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed, abstaining, motion carried. Now February 15th minutes, do I have a motion?
I move that we accept the minutes as written.
Thank you, Adam. Second.
I'll second.
I think Chrissy got
Chrissy
that.
got it.
All right. All in favor, say aye.
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 All right, opposed, abstaining, motion carried. But we are going to table the report of the treasurer until we know whether Marlon's coming back. Yes?
Yes.
No? Don't need a full explanation again. All right, so for chairman's report, I don't think I have anything. Oh, yeah. So relevant, the news coming out of the Orange County IDA. A few of us were here for when the, whatever he calls himself, the managing director, Vinny Cozzolino, came before our IDA several years ago, trying to get us to quote unquote participate in the accelerator that they're putting in, that they put in up on Upper Broadway. And at the time, if you recall, he said, well, they were doing it anyway. So whether we did it or not, it was still going to happen. But notwithstanding that, why don't we pay $60,000 to see this happen? Coincidentally, that $60,000 was supposed to go to Galileo Technology Group, if you all recall. And I think we talked about this at the time because candidly, I knew the guy was shady, and I saw that this was his. I kind of checked his LinkedIn or something. It wasn't even that well hidden, but anyway, we declined to participate in that. And the chickens are coming home to roost. That is one in God knows how many. I don't know. I got two other lawyers here. What's the word? Like conflicts of interest, malfeasance, probably just straight up stealing public money. Like it's not good. So thank you to my fellow board members for also not wanting to participate in that. A lot of us have our own businesses. A lot of us have been in the corporate sector. A lot of us, it's important to understand that, in private business, as long as you're not defrauding somebody, it tends to be legal, right? Maybe there's a better way of putting that, but you can be a lot more kind of interesting and creative in how you do things. But when you're wearing your public official hat, the bar is just so much higher. And I know that we've got all stellar people here that understand that. And it's more important than ever that we operate like that. And not that I have a doubt that we will, because we do. But in the scrutiny the IDAs are getting, and duly so, right? It's to some extent, like we want to make, we're dealing with public money, and we're in a position to give incentives to different types of people and businesses. And look, obviously we're all here, so we all believe that's an incredibly valuable tool to have in the toolbox to help a city like ours develop in the appropriate way, as long as that tool is wielded in the appropriate way. And the power that is statutorily given to us as an agency by the state and heavily regulated, as we all know, is the existence of those regulations does not in itself mean that we're going to wield that power properly. It comes to us as people and as community members and people that like to think that we're operating with some level of integrity. And again, I know we all got it, so I'm glad we do. I just think in light of the level of scandal that's going on in our county, not really just literally our backyard, that it's important to kind of underscore that, because things can really go south if the people in charge and the people that are overseeing it aren't doing things properly. So I really appreciate everything you guys are all doing. And some of us have.
I'm almost starving now, Daddy.
So there's my climactic finish for my. It's important because we have to teach our children what that's about, right? Okay, buddy, you want to watch Starbeam? You know how to do it, right? You just press the button here. Here.
So what happened to the accelerator? Is it?
So it's still operational. I mean, I don't know the latest. So what the latest is, the county legislature has all it has the authority to do is remove and appoint board members. So it did that. It got rid of all the board members and appointed all new board members. It's my understanding that those aren't even necessarily going to be the permanent board members as the agency goes forward. It's just the people that they know can get in there and really investigate what's going on. All right, buddy, you're gonna have to wait like 5 minutes, okay? Thank you. Sorry, guys. So business as usual from a general daily operations, I'm sure is still happening. I mean, the accelerator really at the end of the day is just below market space for startup companies that fit a certain profile. I have strong suspicions that they were getting consulting help from a certain consultancy, probably in exchange for inappropriate, whatever. But bottom line is it's just easy, cheaper space, maybe like creative collisions that can happen between similar businesses, because they're focusing, for example, on like the textile manufacturing, the clothing manufacturing industry up there. I think it's still going. But that's just because there are businesses operating out of there that are independent businesses, and those businesses are still going. At the administrative level, I can't imagine anything's happening. And rightfully so, because look, the process matters, right? Like if there's no integrity in the process, we're not like the ends justify the means in this kind of situation. But I think it's just still happening. Obviously, I think the new board is going to be making some pretty drastic and appropriate changes. And we'll see. I mean, look, the concept of an accelerator is a completely fine concept. There's nothing wrong with the concept. It's a great concept. It just needs to be. So, for example, the building that they put $650,000 of taxpayer money into, there's no RFP process to find that building. It's a privately owned entity, a privately owned building, and I don't have anything to say. I don't know the family that owns it. They seem like good people, and I don't know if I wouldn't necessarily suggest they're involved in any of this, but they're the beneficiaries of a process that didn't have anything resembling best practices, involved in it. Look, we did. You guys have mostly all been here. Greg, maybe not for as long, but for the Scopy Drive thing, yeah, technically the requirement is fair market value. That's technically the requirement for disposing of real property, but we put it out to RFP because we don't want. We truly want the best possible sort of results up there. And how are we going to get that? But putting it out to the entire public to find out who's interested. We can't just go, hey, Nancy, you know somebody? Hey, Christy, do you know somebody? Adam, you got a friend? Like, that's not the way this works. So we'll see. And that's all. I'll stop there. My report is that I'm glad I serve with people of integrity. That's my that's the end of it. Okay, we can move on. Council's report. Katie, you taking the lead?
Yes, thank you. I'm stepping in for Bob tonight. I'm also joined by my colleague, Michelle Kennedy, who has a significant experience appearing before IDAs and in bond financing. So I think she might be able to help jump in if you guys have any questions.
Thank you. And if you talk to Bob, please send him our best, all right?
Yes, absolutely. Thank you. Starting with Scobie Drive, late last week, we received additional documentation from the buyer and DEC regarding the cleanup. The buyer has diligently been pursuing their obligations under the contract, but based on no fault of their own, things have been delayed. So we anticipate that we'll need to revise the cleanup schedule and benchmarks that are in the contract. And once we've had an opportunity to fully go through the DEC and purchaser documentation that we received, we'll provide that to the board with comments for signature. Next is the Foundry. We had a public hearing last week, as you know. The comments were overwhelmingly positive. However, we're continuing to work with our council regarding open issues based on the building's status as a condominium and on the structure of a pilot for 59 separate tax lots. Those items are still open, and we're discussing with the applicant whether they should provide a memorandum to the board addressing these issues. And I would prefer to defer that conversation until the applicant has a chance to circle back with us based on our last comments.
Okay.
Next is St. Luke's. As the board may recall, last year, St. Luke's had requested to pay off its bonds that the board had issued in 2005 and amended in 2010. That didn't happen, and they've now worked out with their lenders a workout, and they're now requesting that the 2005 bonds and indenture be amended. We should have additional documentation on that later this week, and we may be requesting a special meeting in case anything needs to be signed before the April meeting. And that's all for the moment.
We end up doing a special meeting for that. So these guys all know, but I like to mention it when we talk about this, that I'm on the St. Luke's board. So if we do a special meeting for it, I'll just not come to that meeting. You know what I mean? Instead of, because I have to recuse myself from any kind of discussion or decision making when it comes to that.
Okay, understood.
Just a note. Speaking of integrity. All right, and that's it, Katie?
That's it.
All right, thank you very much. Executive Director's report, share.
Don't really have much to add. This is just a heavy month, a lot of documents to complete all the things that wrap up the year. One thing I do want to recommend and ask the board is to allow our attorney to review the documents, or rather our contracts, just to make sure that they're in tip-top shape. Some of them predate everyone on this board, and I think it's in our best interest to have our attorneys review that, just to make sure that things will be in working order in the future.
What documents?
Our contracts.
Oh, yes, yeah, absolutely.
Okay. And, you know, being that that would expend some money, I think, you know, a verbal motion,
Yeah,
roll call
so
would be appropriate.
What we're talking about, guys, is primarily our cell phone lease contract, and I think the Murphy's Ditch one.
Murphy's
right?
Ditch. Yep.
Yeah. You know, they're just they're very old, and they still sort of are around. So it definitely bears attorney review. This has come up sporadically over the past 7 years. And I'm very happy to take a motion to authorize the expenditure of whatever, reasonable attorney's fees to have them reviewed so we can really get our arms around it.
I will make such a motion.
All
And I will
right.
second.
Thank you, Nancy. All in favor, say aye.
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 Opposed, abstaining, motion carried.
So I will send Katie and Bob over the documents after this meeting. And we did have the UTEP hearing today. That was probably the easiest thing to ever have done. We just had developers show up, no one from the taxing jurisdiction, so therefore there are no comments regarding that. Also, the Gemma sidewalk, Armory, Broadway Armory.
Before we go on to some of the news, but as far as the UTEP is concerned, I think the memo from Philippe is worth a look. He basically recommends that, or he suggests that we include in our UTEP just the statutory mixed use exemption schedule. It's something that's already statutorily provided for. I'm not sure that all the taxing jurisdictions have adopted it, but that's a way that we can be helpful, because if it's in our
Right.
UTEP, then it kind of saves the need for further public hearings for what is, again, a statutorily provided for exemption schedule for mixed use. And obviously mixed use is huge here in the city, so.
Austin, if I can just jump in real quick. The city and the school district have opted into RPTL 485A. So this is provided for.
Oh, the school district has to? Okay.
Yep, the school district has as well. So to the extent that including these, increased exemptions in the UTEP, to some extent, it's easier for a developer to just put in an application to the assessor. So, it's a balancing of legwork and what the board wants to focus on.
Yeah, I know. I was under the impression that they hadn't all adopted it. So if it's already there, then that kind of guts that argument for sure.
And the city has adopted it too?
Yes, the city and the school district. I can't speak to the county though. I didn't look into that.
Well, to that end, I was just going to defer to you, Katie, that as well, mixed use is not the norm of an IDA project, and I would be curious to know then what your recommendation would be, for.
Well, mixed use infers residential, and that's something that we are not.
Residential and retail, usually retail.
Mhm. But we're not addressing residential specifically in our UTEP, so does that get confusing?
Right. So to the extent residential is not the board's focus, these exemptions and tax benefits are already available to a developer through the assessor, and really, including these benefits might create more legwork for the board.
All right. Well, we should check in to see if the county has adopted it, because
Yes.
if it hasn't, that's something we should consider.
I can look into that and circle back with you all.
Thanks.
Okay, so yeah, and just, that you're aware, we still have to address the sidewalks at the Broadway Armory. The main issue of why that has been continued to be put off is because I really think that whoever is issuing the violation needs to be very specific as to what the violation is. It's a physical environment, and they don't know who painted the yellow lines on the sidewalks. So, I'm assuming this is going to be a 20K and up job. For the IDA to spend that kind of money, I need to know exactly what is in violation. And of course, all of the physical parts that interact with that sidewalk, such as railings, ADA ramps. We really, you all can't just replace the sidewalk based on a few lines. And haven't been able to get the code compliance officer who issued the violations to discuss them. So I was supposed to talk to Jeremy today, but I couldn't because of, getting ready for this meeting. However, our other attorney that deals with Gemma, Kelly Pressler, I've been in contact with her discussing how we can move forward from there. But be prepared that I think that will be something that'll be addressed and will happen this year. I'm sure all of you would like to see Broadway looking nice in front of the Armory. So we'll try and see how we can get that addressed as quickly as possible.
Just to that point, I mean, if we're about to spend 20K on the sidewalk in the midst of the other Armory stuff, I mean, that's a consideration as well. And not that it doesn't need to be addressed, but it sort of goes hand in hand.
Right.
And that's pretty much it for me. I do think that we should go back and do the treasurer's report just because it'll allow you to do the resolutions cleanly. I kind of organized them in the way that I thought the meeting was going to go. So,
Okay.
yeah.
All right. Who's taking the treasurer's report?
Chrissy, me or you, Chrissy?
It doesn't matter to me. If you are prepared, it's not that I can't, I just have barking dogs that show up every now and
Got
then.
it.
It may interrupt, who like to make noise.
Sure, no worries. No worries. All right, let me open it up. Let me see if I can share. Oh, would you like me to share? It looks like my sharing capability has been disabled.
Would you like to show the treasurer's report on your screen?
I can if the group would like to see it. Otherwise, I can just speak to it. Oh no, maybe I'll just speak to it then.
Okay.
Okay, so the March 2021 monthly treasurer's report yields an opening balance as of February 9th as $271,822.65. There were total deposits made in the amount of $21,222.27. Disbursements were made in the amount of $8,833.83, yielding a closing balance as of March 22nd of $284,211.09. There is $14,137.50 in the applications fund. In the lesser tenant account, there are funds totaling $2,400. And in the money market account, we had an opening balance of $750,020.41. There was interest credit posted in the amount of $57.54 for a closing balance of $750,077.95. And that is the treasurer's report for the month as written. Would someone like to make a motion to accept?
I will make the motion. I will second.
All right. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstaining? Motion carried. It's got to do a motion to pay the bills too, right?
Right.
I'll take that motion.
I move that we pay our bills, Austin.
I'll second that one too.
All right. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstaining? Motion carried. Thank you.
So Adam probably should speak for the Audit Finance Committee that met before this board meeting. And your recommendations for the
Sure.
2020 audit and the 2020 investment report.
So yes, so the audit committee of the City of Newburgh IDA met in advance of this meeting, having reviewed the government audits document as well as the 2020 investment report. And we discussed what we had reviewed, and we did not see anything that jumped out at us in the form of any irregularities or anything we weren't able to understand. And as such, we wanted to come before the board to recommend that both items be adopted and approved by the board as written without changes.
Do you want to make the motions, want us to make the motions now, or do you have a list of resolutions that you want to do in succession, Chair?
So resolution that ends in 322-1. I've included there the mission statement that you edited about a month ago, performance measurements, 2020 operations and accomplishments. Those are things that we're required to do by ABO. The 2020 investment report, the 2020 certified annual audit, authorization for me to submit the Paris report on behalf of all of you to ABO, and reaffirming compliance with applicable laws and policies with the operations of this agency. So I'll let Austin.
I think the question, so we're doing the resolutions in order, right? And did we cover everything that's going to be in the first resolution?
So no, if you all do not want to change the mission statement, or if you do want to change the mission statement at this time, that's allowed. Performance measurements and accomplishments, generally we don't review that at the board meeting. You all receive that document beforehand, and then you approve that, and then everything else is covered.
Okay, well, I think the mission statement we just put in the UTEP that we sent out. So unless anybody has issues with it, we probably should adopt the new mission statement.
Yeah, we already discussed that, right?
Yeah, we had discussed that before.
Yeah.
And what was the other thing, Cher?
Performance measurements,
And then we all
operations, and
reviewed
accomplishments.
individually. Okay. I think it's safe to vote on the
Do we
resolution.
have that document up, or should we share it?
Would you like for me to share it? Well, actually, let me not speak too soon, because I'm using my city login on a different platform, and I can't share that on here. Or maybe I can.
Yeah. Can everybody see this?
Yeah.
Yeah, thank you.
All right, so bottom line, so we already talked about what's kind of up here. The performance goals and measures. As you can read from, more put you to sleep. Private investment.
Right, okay.
Okay, so how do we feel about those 3 performance measures? Closing of properties, just supporting businesses like we normally do, more marketing and outreach, a workshop perhaps.
I mean, the second one, dispose of agency owned property, that's not necessarily all the property that we have, but
The second bullet point
is
West
West
Street,
Street
East Street.
includes everything, well, it doesn't include, I guess, right, the property that we own versus the interest that we have.
Shoot. So, I mean, I think the priority, we're working on Scobie Drive, and the other parcels are, it's good to be on our performance measures, Whether it actually ends up coming to fruition is a different story.
Mhm.
And these have to be submitted per the ABO this month?
Yes.
And these are standard, these are what we standardly produce every year.
Correct.
I mean, not these specific ones, but
Sure.
it is a standard for us to do this every year,
Mhm.
have a similar kind of list or set of goals. Look, I think this is fine. You know, like the point is of all this to be in compliance is to have something, just like a business plan, right? You just have to have an idea of what we're going to do, and we can always change it. Nothing wrong with changing it. They just want to make sure we're kind of paying attention to it to some extent every year. So does anybody have anything exciting to add to what's here on the screen, or might be here on the screen? Or are we ready to do the first resolution?
So I think we're ready to do the first resolution. This is not necessarily set in stone as the only things that we can do. I mean, obviously, we are doing a lot of other things as well, so
Right.
I think that's fine.
All right, so the first resolution will be 2021-3-22-1 to adopt the mission statement, adopt the performance measurements we just spoke about.
I make a motion to pass.
Well,
Said
hold on.
resolution.
Also,
Yeah, I think that's-
the operations and accomplishments. So there's more here. Let me bring it back up so we know what we're doing.
There we go. I need a roll call.
Well, we're not doing the thing yet because the resolution also includes the investment report, which is pretty standard. This is just where we're at.
Okay.
And mission
Mission
statement.
statement, I got that.
You know, there's a operations thing in here somewhere. I might have just passed it. Operations and accomplishments.
Yeah.
So this is from last year, right? This is just us saying that based on our goals last year, we've done X, Y, and Z that fit more or less within those goals. Okay. And I'll just bring the resolution right back up. All right, so we went over the mission statement, performance measurements, operations and accomplishments, investment report, talked about the audit. Okay. Now then. I'll take a motion to approve resolution 2021-3-21-1.
I will make a motion to approve said resolution.
Thank you, Chrissy. I have a second.
Second?
All right, let's do the roll call.
Austin Du Bois,
Yes.
Nancy Thomas,
Yes.
Christina Amato,
Yes.
Marlon Ramos is absent, Gregory Nato,
Yes.
Adam Pollock,
Yes.
and Michael Kelly is absent.
Great.
So might I just
So
say,
we
under new business, the strategic.
so
planning-
have we time out? Have we approved the 2020 audit?
No, we haven't approved the audit or the.
Yeah, that's why I was confused because I wasn't looking at the agenda, but after Adam gave his report, I'm pretty sure we were just supposed to make a motion on the 2020 audit and we weren't getting into the resolutions yet, right? All right. I'll take a motion to approve the 2020 audit.
I move we approve the 2020 audit.
Thank you, Nancy. Do I have a second?
I'll second.
Thank you, Gregory. All in favor, say aye.
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 Opposed, abstaining, motion carried. Thank you, everybody.
Now you need a motion for the financials, 2020 financials.
Do we? It's not on the agenda.
What 2020?
Oh, the second item of the finance committee is, or was that all wrapped into the audit?
The audit.
No, the only thing you have is the 2020 audit, and then you have the 2020 investment report. That was
Sorry,
it.
that's what I'm,
Okay.
the investment report.
And that they're both on the resolution that was just passed.
Yeah, the investment report, right.
Wonderful.
Okay, so I think we're on to new business. So the PPE grant.
Sorry, I just wanted to mention, so before the board hadn't officially discussed dissolving the strategic financial assistance policy.
Yeah, that's the next agenda item.
Oh, I'm sorry, am I like on a different? Okay,
So what's the PPE grant?
sorry, okay. Okay. I had accidentally made two versions of the agenda. That's why you and I are looking at two different things. The PPE grant, so the grant committee, which consists of Marlon and Mike, who are both not here. Let me just pull that up. Have discussed approving the grant for 3 Newburgh businesses and two businesses, 1 nonprofit. So we have Safe Harbors, which you all are familiar with. And then we have, pull up the other 2. Active Ventilation Products. And then we have J&F Restaurant, which is a pizzeria on Broadway. So Active Ventilation Products, their expense is greater than the grant, but we will just be capping off $2,500 at what the board has agreed to provide for grants. The same thing for the pizzeria, and Safe Harbors comes in at $2,433.43. So this resolution would allow the 3 of them to receive money for PPE expenses that they'd incurred. After this, I will also make a site visit to make sure and photograph what they said that they bought is there.
Sure.
And
Great. Do we need an additional motion to approve all that? Or is it just within the criteria? So we're good.
it's within the resolution, so you all can just move to pass resolution 2021-03-22-03.
Okay.
I'll also move to
Oh,
pass.
wait, time out. So the resolution. All right, but the UTEP resolution is numbered first.
Yeah, that's why I apologize. In one of the emails that I sent you guys, I accidentally left the old version of the agenda there. So
And
we can do the UTEP after this one or before this one, is up to you.
Does it really matter that the resolutions are approved in different order? It doesn't, because the numbering is all arbitrary anyway, right? Like, counselors?
I would assume so.
I think that's
Doesn't
fine.
matter.
It should not matter as long as it's clear from the record which resolution you're approving.
There we go. Thank you. That sounded very lawyerly. Good. Whatever, we're good. Thanks. Okay, so we'll do the PPE resolution, 2020, whatever our date is, -3. Approving, I'm opening up the wrong emails with the wrong attachments. Approving the PPE grants as we just discussed. I'll take that motion.
I'll finish the motion to approve the resolution as read.
Thank you, Chris. Second, please.
I'll second.
Thank you, Adam. Do the roll call. I think I'm first. I say yes.
Austin DuBois,
Yes.
Nancy Thomas,
Yes.
Christina Amato,
Yes.
Gregory Nato,
Yes.
Adam Pollock,
Yes.
and Marlon Ramos and Michael Kelly are absent.
All right. Motion carried. Let's maybe also do like a press release or something. It'd be nice for people to know that we're helping businesses in a way that the state permits us to. I'll stop. Okay. All right.
Where does one post a press release these days?
Good question.
There's like an email list of different
Oh,
news outlets. And,
okay.
ideally on the city website and city Facebook. On that share, has the city shared on their Facebook the
I'm not on Facebook every day, but I'm pretty sure since I didn't get a response back from that request, I'd have to follow up with it.
who was the request to?
City manager's executive assistant. Who
How
pretty
long
much
ago?
that day that we texted,
I don't okay.
which is last
Sometime
Thursday.
last week.
Yeah.
All right. Let's follow up and see what they say.
Yeah.
This is of course for the job posting guys, so that they could be shared on Facebook, because we only got one resume so far in response to filling the executive director position, and it was a guy in Rochester. It was something about like, I don't know if I can talk, whatever, like how many hours the job would be, or like whether full-time or part, and like we clearly listed it was part-time, and he was like, well, because if I'm going to relocate, I really need to know. And I'm like, whoa, slow down, you know. Like, you live in Rochester and this is like a part-time kind of job, like, you know.
Wow.
May not be the right fit, but we will duly consider it along with the other resumes we get. All right. Agenda. Okay, now for the strategic financial assistance policy. I don't know what kind, so we talked about this before. This is the sort of one-page policy that we have or had or whatever that really is just not, it's duplicative, and it causes confusion based on.
We talked about it last meeting. We just forgot to make the resolution to get rid of it.
So we need a resolution to get rid of it?
I spoke to Bob about this. It just seemed like if you guys did a roll call, that would be fine. But there was no formality to it, so.
Okay, so is the motion that we're not adopting it again, or that we are just discarding it, that we're nullifying?
Discarding it in light of having all the information contained in our UTEP.
Okay, so I'll take a motion to cancel, nullify, discard, get rid of whatever our strategic financial assistance policy, based on the fact that all of its content is repeated in another more specific policy, particularly the UTEP policy, or the UTEP and other policies and procedures that we have documented here with the agency.
I will make said motion.
Thank you, Chrissy. Who's my second?
I'll second
Yeah, you're
Thanks,
laughing.
that motion.
All in favor? We're doing a roll call. We'll do a roll call.
Okay, Austin DuBois,
Yes.
Nancy Thomas,
Yes.
Christina Amato,
Yes.
Gregory Nato,
Yes.
Adam Pollock,
Yes.
and Marlon Ramos and Michael Kelly are absent.
All righty. I believe. So we discussed everything under new business below that, but we have a resolution to adopt the UTEP as we've already drafted it. Are we prepared to do that? Do we want to look into the mixed use thing? Do we not care? What do people want to do?
Well, I mean, on one hand, I agree with what Philippe is saying, but if it has been addressed within the city and the school, which are really the biggest taxing authorities, you know, the county maybe is important, but maybe not including it at the risk of confusing our UTEP. Maybe we leave that as a separate entity for another jurisdiction to consider. I mean, unless you believe that we're leaving benefits on the table. I think if it's already available, we should leave the UTEP as a separate item.
Yeah, I mean, personally, I'm a little bit on the fence. Like, if the county hasn't adopted it, I kind of would like us to include it, but I also don't think it's, you know, critical for our UTEP right now.
Right.
That's not, you know.
Just so that I'm clear, the two additional things that Philippe added. So does that make that 3 possible programs that you can, like our UTEP and then those 2 others, or are they all together? Does that make sense?
There's an as of right tax program from the state, which is 485A and 485B.
That has nothing to do with our UTEP.
At the moment, correct.
Correct.
Well, 45B is considered an RUTEP, right?
Well, we put it there so that people can see side by side the benefits that people are getting with our UTEP. It's a better deal.
It's to demonstrate that you're coming to us because we can offer you something better than what you can get as of right. But that, you know, this is why we're requiring you to put this application together, because this is what you get as of right. But if you want.
Yeah.
But can you do both? Can you get the
It's nested within the same. So for 45B,
yeah,
which is just for commercial development.
Okay.
It's also sort of a pilot. It's a pilot program. And what we are doing within our UTEP is creating better incentive. So the 45B program would be nested within or contained within our pilot. It wouldn't be separate so much as it would be the same but better.
Gotcha.
Or
Okay.
additional, if you want to put it that
But
way.
it's not
It has to
administered.
do with mixed use. I think he just mentioned B because we do contemplate B in ours just because it's one and the same kind of type of project. He just said, well, why don't you do 45A as well? And the reasoning for it, in my mind, is really only to make it easier to get that benefit that is already provided for. Right now, apparently the city and apparently the school district both have adopted it, which means that a developer gets it as of right. If the county hasn't adopted it, then that means a developer would have to have a public hearing in order to get it and deal with the kind of unpredictable stuff that the public hearing brings about. So us having the 45A within our UTEP, that gets rid of the need for them to have a public hearing to take advantage of 45A. The other side of that, the concern is we've crafted our UTEP pretty carefully to not be providing a roadmap for anything residential. And a residential project like the Foundry, for example, would have to be like just really super impactful and notable for us to consider it, which would require a public hearing on top of that anyway. So that's really the two sides of it. One is it could potentially make it a little bit easier to take advantage of a benefit that's already on the books with the state. The other is it more than we have to worry about? Should we just stay in our lane more or less and stick with commercial projects? Unless
I
there's
think
some
because the benefits that we're offering include, 45B, include a lot of those benefits, it just doesn't, we don't contemplate the mixed use component, which we are doing intentionally. Again, I understand that the county component may not be included in it, but I think because we're attempting to, the reason that we're addressing 45B is specifically for the commercial portion. I think 45A would be then make it more confusing because we are specifically not calling that out. So
98 also don't do retail, or generally speaking, that's not what you guys are doing.
people are free to make motions. They feel strongly one way or the other.
If I
Okay.
could intervene for a moment with respect to 485A, if you were to attempt to incorporate those provisions within your UTEP policy, the provisions would have to go beyond simply repeating the schedule for 45A because it does touch upon retail and residential. So you would have to incorporate the other provisions under Article 18A of the General Municipal Law in order to be consistent with the law. So it does add a layer of complication that it presently doesn't exist in the proposed UTEP policy.
And we'd have to have another public hearing, I assume, because it's pretty substantial.
Correct. Yes.
So with that said, I will make a motion to approve the resolution for the UTEP as it has been addressed, as it's been drafted, as the public hearing has been heard on it, as is.
Do I have a second?
I will second.
All right. For
Do we
future
need a roll
resolutions,
call?
I won't go last, just for the record, for my roll call vote, but okay, we can do the roll call.
Austin Du Bois,
Yes.
Nancy Thomas,
Yes.
Christina Amato,
Yes.
Gregory Nato,
Yes.
Adam Pollock,
Yes.
Marlon Ramos, and Michael Kelly are absent.
I just like the philosophy of like, it's not the chair's, he doesn't vote unless like there's a real discord kind of thing. I like the idea of like letting the rest of the board vote and then I can whatever. But so I'm not unduly influenced anyway with my immutable absolute power as the chairman of the IDA. All right. I think are we good to go? I don't think we have anything else. There's nothing else on the agenda anyway.
Wonderful. Do we need a motion to adjourn?
I move that we adjourn.
Quick, that's always a real quick motion. All right, I'll take a second.
I'll second.
Thank you, Gregory. All right, all in favor, say aye.
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 Opposed, abstaining, too bad. Have a good night, everybody.
Good night.
The new beautiful weather we finally have.
Yes.